I think there comes in some point in your life when you start feeling lost and you don't know what to do. How do I make progress in life? You kind of just feel stuck. Maybe you've just graduated school or university or college for those living in the US. Or maybe you decide to drop college and decide to not go through with your degree. And you think, what now? What am I supposed to do now? There's very straight and direct milestones you're supposed to achieve in life, like getting a relationship, having a group of friends to hang out with, moving out from your parents, or knowing what career you want in life. It could be many things, and I think especially when you're Asian, growing up in Asian culture, there's that pressure to constantly achieve more and more. We're kind of caught in a rat race that captures us passive, just following the path that's set out for us. Moving from school to university to job, that we don't stop to think, what do we want? And you have that gut feeling that something isn't right. And then when you grow up in your 20s, you start to figure out afterwards that it becomes very isolating because everyone's starting their own careers or relationships, and suddenly everyone's busy, they don't have time to hang out. And with the rise of social media, it can take a toll in constantly exposing us to the best of people's lives and their achievements. And in a way, it's kind of messed up because it causes us to construct an idea of what a life is supposed to look like, and then you start to compare yourself while trying to find a job that would fulfill you. And then there's other external factors as well in society, especially for people in Gen Z. You know, I don't know about other countries, but in Australia, we are currently dealing with a per person recession. There's a higher cost of living crisis because of inflation, housing crisis. It slowly starts to eat away at our self-worth. I remember coming across a Korean-German philosopher called Byung-Chul, if I said that correctly. I hope I didn't butcher the name. But he coined this term called an achievement society, talking about how we are both the victims and the perpetrators of our own happiness, in being self-driven to achieve more and more and be more productive, where we no longer live in a disciplinary society where you constantly have someone telling you what to do. But in an achievement society, it's a lot more subtle because we are the cause of our own unhappiness. There's a big focus on being the greatest, driven by ourselves. When I started to realize that being in your 20s is more so about exploring and taking big risks to understand who you are, because you don't really get that opportunity in school, at least not as much as your 20s. In school, you're kind of just focused on getting the best grades. When you're out of school, suddenly there's no one telling you what to do anymore, and you suddenly have to find the direction of your own life. Being in your 20s is also about making mistakes and learning to be content with not having everything, or not having achieved what you have thought out you'll achieve at a certain age. Maybe you wanted to get married at the age of 25, and that didn't happen. And that's okay. Adulting is hard, and I think it's important that we don't be so hard on ourselves, because not only that would cause a lot of mental torture, but everyone's life is different, and you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people's lives and say, oh, they're better than me, because they're not you and you're not them, and that's okay. I feel like we should be more content with the small things we do in life. So I gathered a few tips I saw online and summarized in my head what to do when you're feeling lost. As someone who also feels lost in life, I probably need this as well. So the first thing would be to stop comparing your journey as if it was a competition. Also knowing that your journey is going to be different from everyone else's journey, it will allow you to be able to focus more on yourself rather than everyone else around you. And just because you don't achieve success in your 20s doesn't mean you won't achieve success in the future. There was a guy called Warren Buffett, and he's known as a great investor who achieved most of his wealth after the age of 50. Some people achieve it even in their 40s, 30s, 60s, all sorts of ages. And just because you think you just peaked in high school doesn't mean it's suddenly the end of your life. There's a whole decades ahead of you. Your success doesn't necessarily need to be in your 20s. And life is not a straight line. It's not like a movie where it suddenly peaks up when you're young. It doesn't always have to be that way. And that's okay. You can kind of think of your life like flavored ice cream. Like maybe you view life as being vanilla and you're not matcha flavored ice cream or cookies and cream. But vanilla is still a nice tasting flavor. And we need to appreciate what we have achieved so far and not be so down on what we haven't achieved. It's like asking yourself, is the glass half full or half empty? It's the same concept. The next tip on what to do when feeling lost would be to set reasonable expectations. Not something that's too high, like, I gotta be a doctor, my parents are pushing me, I'm gonna have to get a 6-figure salary by next year. When you build your expectations to be so high, when you don't meet those expectations, it will just result in a life of disappointment, a life of misery. So really, we should make our goals a lot smaller and more realistic. The next tip in not feeling lost is to have a growth mindset. So a growth mindset is believing you can improve with time, effort, and energy, working towards the process itself rather than the outcome. This could be looking towards how can I improve myself as a person and my skills to achieve the goals that I want to achieve. We celebrate failures and normalize failures as a part of our own growth in improving ourselves. And the final tip I found is to know yourself. Really, it's about knowing what you like, what you dislike, without having the pressure from society, school, your parents. How would you curate your life without those external influences? It could also mean to try out new things so you understand those likes and dislikes. So for example, you can apply at a job. Maybe it's not the most high-paying job in the world, but you can go into that job and say, okay, this is the kind of environment that I like. Maybe I don't like working in an office, but I like working outdoors. So you can take those experiences and use it for the next job that you apply. I think it all ties into the concept of ikigai. It's a Japanese term that describes the feeling of accomplishment and knowing what is your purpose in life and following and pursuing your passions. I just hope this ramble has helped anyone who also feels lost. It's such a hopeless feeling, and the pressure of having it all together is just so difficult to deal with. Anyways, I was trying to experiment with this new style of video of being less scripted and more so of a stream of consciousness type narration. If you made it to the end, you're the OG. Congratulations. If you've played Genshin before, comment below who's your favorite character, who do you main in Genshin? And I'll see you next time.